Hi everyone. So I just wanted to start off by saying I found these readings particularly interesting. The kind of main points that I took away were the connection between the understanding of the brain and the world of education, the connection between language and learning, and finally the in-depth descriptions of the different regions of the brain and the skills that lie within each particular region. Also gave me some insight, I believe, into a person's personality. So to start off back with my first point about the brain and teaching, I really enjoyed how our book, the Josie Bass Reader on Brain and Learning, talked about cognitive neuroscience and its place within education. What particularly struck me was the way the theories of cognitive neuroscience were seen as more of a helpful aid rather than just replacing all traditional teaching entirely. And I think it's important that is established, because to say that these theories can replace all traditional teaching, the book even implies that it's a jump to conclusions and it's an overgeneralization. But this is not to say that cognitive neuroscience is not helpful in education. A quote I got from our assigned reading, Josie Bass says, "Cognitive neuroscience may also offer methods for the early identification of special needs and enable assessment of the delivery of education for special needs," which I think is great. So not only does it act as a indicator for special needs, it also can establish what teaching methods should be used for someone who has special needs, so they can be successful at an early age and not be crippled from the beginning or struggled intensely from the beginning. So the next point, still in our Josie Bass Reader, was language and learning. And I never really put the two together. I think language was just, I understand you. I didn't really think it involved anything in education. However, it's clear that people process language differently. And the great example they gave was people who are blind are not going to process information like those who can see. The book indicates that they actually process language quicker. And again, another great quote that explains this, it says, Josie Bass again says, "So blind people also process speech more efficiently. For example, they speed up cassette tapes, finding them too slow, and still comprehend the speech, even though the recording quality suffers." See, that is something that I never even thought about. Language to me was people can hear it, people speak it, that's that. So I got a lot of insight on that, on a lot of insight on the relationship between language and learning. And then the last point I want to talk about was actually in our Neuroscience of Personality book. We learned about the different regions, and the region that fascinated me the most, and maybe it's because it was indicated that we use it the most, would be the region 1, which is chief judgment. So as the book explains, it's the area for decision making and detection, and it helps fight off negative thoughts to maintain positivity. And I found this really interesting learning about this region because it kind of answered my question from the previous week. I asked about pessimism and optimism, and is that something you can take as a test to find out what side you lean on more? But I might have gotten an answer here, or at least a helpful hint into it, because it was saying, the book was describing how low activity in this region implies that a person has trouble finding errors, and they struggle to explain or make decisions, and when they are given negativity, it's responded to with anger and sadness and fear. And just thinking about myself, I always try to somehow put myself in the topic or relate it to my life in some way. I was gonna say, maybe I might have some low activity here. I am awful at making decisions. I am so indecisive. Sometimes explaining, the thoughts I have up here don't come out right when I try to say them. And then I definitely am in control of my emotions a little bit. So that negativity, I do experience fear and anger. I think after learning all these, or hearing all these interesting ideas, my question would be particularly about the regions of the brain. I would ask if the level of activity, whether it be low or high, of a person's chief judgment, if it's low or high, is that giving us insight into more of one's personality than the Myers-Briggs? Because after learning again different regions of the brain, and another one, for example, is the deductive analyst skill set, making logical deductions. So again, low activity, you're going to have trouble making logical decisions and kind of have a good chain of reasoning. I just basically wonder if understanding the regions of the brain and what skill sets are in there, and assessing if your activity in those regions are low or high, just gives more insight into one's personality than the personality tests that have been established. So those are my thoughts. Thanks, guys.